What do we remember about Redmi Note 3 Pro? In days that was one of the most successful and popular Xiaomi smartphone. It's got decent hardware, huge battery, big screen, fancy body with a metal back. All that was coming with a big letter A for awesome as for that time, and the price cheaper as never after. But what we see now is a ton of compromises from Xiaomi in order to release more smartphones in 1 year and not fail in sales. Even the most balanced last Redmi Notes were far away from a masterpiece, so Chinese companies got a head scratcher, thought for a little while, and actually added NFC to their new budget series of smartphones to make fans happy. Finally. Also, Redmi Note 8 Pro's got camera for 64 megapixels, glass body, Type-C port, headphone jack, and $215 price. People were definitely hyped, but is everything so smooth after all? Let's find this out. My name is Bogdan, welcome to Tech Fellas. This is our detailed review on Redmi Note 8 Pro. I'll continue speaking about the body. The phone has combined card drawbar with a rubber seal. In theory, we may dream about some liquid protection, but there's definitely no official IP certification here, so you better not dive with this phone. Its chassis is made of metal, which acts like a heat sink, but the whole frame is made of plastic. I think it's done to make the phone less expensive and easy to manufacture. There's glossy coating on the frame, so you better be careful not to scratch or wipe out that finish by the end of the first day when you bought it. As you probably understood, I strongly recommend to put it immediately in the case. Here's a little disappointment. The green forest variation in the internet looks really sexy, but in real life that greenish hue is coming out only when you catch the appropriate sunbeam, so you might consider buying some custom case with SpongeBob on the back. Speaking about the back, the set of cameras with fingerprint reader reminds me Pocophone F1, and I frankly liked that idea in the past as well as nowadays. However, there's actually one catch. This spine is so thick that even the case from the box is not on the same level with it. From here comes my third advice about the case. Get the thicker and the most massive one to avoid additional camera scratches. As for the grasp, the phone lays comfortably in hand. Considering sizes, this is not a compact phone, but I'm personally thankful for its rounded body. Besides, its weight is pretty fair. The phone recognizes you in two ways, either via the mentioned fingerprint reader or by means of face unlock. Quite a standard story. The first one is stable, fast, and frequently the phone was accidentally unlocked when I was reaching for it inside the pocket and randomly grabbed it just to put on the table. Too bad that face recognition is not as snappy. It's not the problem with my face, we made 5 attempts to register it in the most correct way. The results are still quite mediocre, even in good light conditions. You guessed, what about the bad lighting? The screen brightness is obviously not enough for this feature to work in the evening, and definitely at night. How about the screen itself? It's regular and my favorite IPS with Full HD Plus resolution and 6.53 inches size. As for the quality, by far it's actually pretty good, but let's don't forget that this is Xiaomi. All the models tend to give a brownish flavor to colors in a long time use, and it doesn't seem that there's major improvements this time. Besides, the brightness spreading just doesn't feel right. You can clearly see that wave of dim light around the due dot notch, but it's okay. Quite a hard place not to fail. But why the bottom of the screen has the same gradient? That's unfortunate. I personally wouldn't be against the full plastic body if the phone had wonderful screen, but not in case of Redmi Note 8 Pro. My eyes will say that the maximum and minimum brightness peaks are great both during night or a sunny day. Besides, apart from 460 nits of top manual brightness, the phone can scale automatically even higher, up to 640 nits when it's too shiny around, kinda like Samsung smartphones do. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't so good to test this in real life, but as you can see, the flashlight reveals that effect. The viewing angles are decent, but in a common way. If the brightness falls down, the white balance goes down too. The colors are mostly cold by default and a bit more saturated than I used to, despite the fact that this is not OLED display. Anyway, in settings you can easily deal with these flaws. Now it's the performance time. The chipset inside is MediaTek Helio G90T with 8-core processor and Mali G76MC4 for graphics. Some geeks may wonder that it looks like the one from Galaxy Note 10, but don't let it fool you. Samsung games and graphics is also G76, but with MP12 in the end. The RAM is for 6 gigs and the storage holds 64 gigs. There are also versions with 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, both with 128 gigs memory. By the way, the storage type is UFS 2.1. On the heavy loads, all this stuff works snap with special turbo boost while entering games. Speaking about game performance in World of Tanks Blitz, you won't get the top 60 FPS on maximum graphics settings even with the turbo boost help. The real numbers after a couple of fights is 20-40 FPS, sometimes 50, but with regular laggy jerks. Call of Duty Modern Warfare works absolutely fine. Device of course is warming up, but not badly thanks to the firstly ever introduced in Redmi series liquid cooling system, and without throttling if you keep your hunger for the best graphics a couple of levels down. Digging it deeper, despite 6 gigs of RAM, it is a challenge for Redmi Note 8 Pro to hold apps in the memory, and it wouldn't hurt the experience so much if I was speaking about heavy games only. Some random stuff like Waze app has to be launched once again completely after a minute when I hide the app. The battery in device is for 4500 mAh, which is gigantic as for Redmi series. Is this a miracle in real life? I wouldn't say that. For instance, while using it as a main navigator in the car with auto brightness, you can count on around 4 hours of battery life. If you're going to have a busy day with constant tasks for your phone, tons of photo and video, prepare to save some place in your pocket for a power bank, as Redmi Note 8 Pro won't last the whole day. If just for staying in touch in social media and without heavy loads, 1.5 of the day is its maximum. Regarding communication, I have no complaints to the front-facing speaker. Overall signal is strong, microphone is good too. In any case, definitely better than in iPhone XS. When it comes to Wi-Fi, some of its channels intersect with Bluetooth. Mainly when you connect the phone with 2.4 GHz network, you should disable Bluetooth because in most cases you get a massive slowdown.
Who else but
Xiaomi. Xiaomi.
Fortunately, 5 GHz routers are becoming more popular and more common. For example, recently we reviewed range extender RE300 and router Archer A7 that altogether bring decent 5 GHz Wi-Fi signal. Check out this later if you wish, and we are moving on. As I mentioned before, we have NFC in this Redmi too. This is not the first time when Xiaomi deals with GPay, and this is not the first Redmi with this feature either. However, it's the most affordable and the fresh device from those guys with NFC. I know it's not some audio player, but this thing has mini jack, so it's time for some audiophile madness. Frankly speaking, I cannot praise the sound from this phone, but I'm glad to see either the regular plug for headphones as well as Type-C for audio accessories like DAC. The sound from the analog port is loud but mostly dark and non-expressive. Bass is not punchy at all, the mid frequencies are lacking of soundstage, highs are just crippled and uptight. The picture overall is made for garage rock, pop or rap, but more sound demanding genres is better to listen from something else. If you decide to get this phone before headphones, you must know that multimedia speaker here is only one at the bottom. The sound in fact is not bad, I would even say it's almost pleasant, but the only problem is its grave silence. The maximum volume here is lower than Tyrion Lannister, the ringtone is hard to hear on the street, and it's almost impossible to speak via the speakerphone in the car. What else? The words from mentioned Waze app on the smartphone are hardly to catch while in the loud traffic jam, when iPhone XS with the same app shouts louder than any chatter in the cabin. Well played, Redmi, unless it's the opposite to the word play. The next is about cameras. I'm sure you're waiting the pics from that 64 megapixel lens, but hold on, at first let me tell you that macro shooting here is just a piece of crap. The pics from the main wide lens when cropping give us noticeably better quality even without a focus in depth and possibility to get closer to the model. Now it's about 64 megapixels, but don't get too excited. Our eagle eyes tell that the difference between 64 megapixels and standard photos is only only that when cropping, the standard ones show pixels and 64 megapixel ones show spots of blurred noise instead. Well, in general, this effect makes the photos look better, but for the professional eye it's clearly not worthy, especially considering that the weight of such photo is 4 times bigger than a regular one. As for the good news, telephoto lens shots are really nice, but it's my least used module ever in life, and presumably not only mine. Still, it's like a pleasant bonus to the camera kit. The super wide angle lens that traditionally is lacking of details comparing with the main camera still brings worthy and broad results. I'm also glad that all 3 cams share the same colors and post-processing quality. It's never enough to say what else is letting me down. The main photogun, besides its insignificant depth of field on the mentioned macro, sometimes has floating color issues creating pastel pictures. For example, these leaves here were yellow, but in the photo their color looks faded and dull. Also, the camera clearly hates shaky hands, because shutter speed is far away from the minimal even during the day. In all other cases, I found no more flaws. It copes nicely with poor lighting, doesn't have problems with contre-jour when you turn on HDR, and almost always transfers colors naturally and correctly. If you want to shoot something decent on it, you need to have minimal skills and a decent understanding of how optic works and when HDR is needed. Redmi Note 8 Pro will do the rest for ya. I cannot say that the night mode in the smartphone is as crappy as its macro, but when the series of photos is taken for quite a long time and during the shooting, camera lowers the exposure to remove sparks of street lamps and reflections. In the results, we get the following. Photos please with smaller halos from luminous objects, but noticeably fall behind in details if to compare with photos from the automatic mode. Describing this in general, I of course would like to see less harm from it, but how Beatles sing. Regarding video, it shoots in 4K only from the main camera and telephoto lens. Super wide one can only do Full HD clips and they do not impress at all. Stabilization in 4K either do not work or does it through pain and suffering. However, there's no damn digital trash when exposure adapts while shooting. If you really want to see nice software video smoothing, you need to shoot in 1080p. Overall quality of this video is not bad, but you can't call it any kind of record breaking. Front-facing camera takes photos counting on its luck. It fails, struggling backlight, has mediocre sharpness, so just do not crop or peer wisely on the photos and in 50% chances you'll be happy. In simple words, suitable for Instagram, but forbidden to put in a frame. Again, as lighting goes down, the quality fades away. Nothing good to say about night selfie. Oh wait, here's one, it can be shot. That's good. What about Google Camera, you ask? Note 8 Pro is built in using MediaTek platform, so I highly doubt that Gcam will ever appear in this device. This is why I vote usually for Qualcomm. Finalizing, about software, device in our hands is global and the firmware is obviously global too. The main differences from Chinese one is in the software buttons from pure Android from age of Mi A1 and the replacement of some apps from Xiaomi to the same stuff from Google. In total, the software works more or less smoothly, but as always notifications come as they wish, sometimes the system becomes laggy and the software cuts out apps from the memory too regular. Once MIUI, always MIUI, but otherwise you can live with it, cause we could. Summarizing the stuff, on the one hand, this is a wonderful bang for your buck. Powerful hardware? Checked. Big battery? Checked. Not too shabby screen? Checked. Glass body? Checked. At least one nice camera? Checked. Even NFC is checked in here. These are the treats. But tricks are also included. Multimedia speaker is seemingly absent here. Other lenses apart from the main one are just lame. And telephoto. Who cares about telephoto? Besides, I highly doubt that the phone will have nice software support. Probably custom firmwares on Android 13 or 14 won't be available here. Long story short, if 64 megapixels for swaggering, NFC and nice ergonomics are enough to forget about questionable chipset, not that optimized battery life, and to use Bluetooth apart from Wi-Fi, Redmi Note 8 Pro is your phone to buy. At least think twice before pushing the order button. By the way, the links to the stores where you can buy this guy are in the description box below, and if you like this video, then why not to support our channel by subscribing to it, hitting the like button and ringing the bell to stay tuned for more cool content. My thanks for watching and cheers!